salvation that we have. Now, I would just say that, when we do the Divine Liturgy and the epistle is read, I think it's not really listened to. Sometimes it's muffled, sometimes we can't understand it, and I think we miss out a lot. I think we miss out a lot when the epistle is read, and even the gospel. Many of us miss out because we're too late to come to church, and that's not a good thing either. We should be here for the reading of the gospel, because in general we usually preach the gospel, which we're going to preach again today, but not the gospel reading, but the epistle reading, which again is a letter that Paul the Apostle wrote to the Romans. And this one I'm going to read as I go, because it's such a beautiful pericope of the gospel that again explains us who we are in His creation. And in His creation, God has given of Himself to every single one of us, a bit of Himself to every single one of us. So we have talents. We have abilities. We have all these graces that are given to us, and God has given them to us, and St. Paul expresses them to a small degree. I say to a small degree because what we really have is an enormous grace that God has given us. As a matter of fact, many of us who have talents and we do good in many other things, you know that we use, there are studies that say, from what we know and what we have and what we experience, is only 10% of what we already have. We use only 10% of the gifts that are given to us by the Lord. Only 10%. And Jesus here, actually, Paul says here, and I'll just read it, says, Brethren, how many gifts that differ according to the grace? We all have gifts that differ. And the same, they overlap, of course, to the grace given to us, let us use them if it is prophecy, those who have prophecy. Now, are there people that have the gift of prophecy? Yes, the answer is yes. There are many people that have that. And I don't mean to go running to these psychics that are in the corners and you go and get your palm read or anything like that. That's not prophecy. That's something else. That's something else. But prophecy, there are many people who are given the gift of prophecy, especially those who devote themselves to the Lord, go to monasteries, but not necessarily so. There are people in the world that are able to prophesy. And they are people, and it says, them in prophecy in proportion to that, to their faith. If service, to give service, to be volunteers in hospitals, whatever it is. If you have that tendency and that gift that you wish to do, that's great. If you're in service, then that. If you're a teacher, a teacher. We have teachers here that for 40 years. We have a teacher that's been teaching for 40 years. And others that have been doing it for 10, 15, and 20 years. And some that are new teachers. And they teach our children the faith. And it says that you who are exhortation, if you have a gift of exhortation, to exhort others, to convince others, to be able to convince of the Lord. If you have that gift to speak to somebody and talk about the Lord and the church and who you are, who Christ is, how they are in relationship to the Lord, then they exhort. It says if you have that gift of exhortation, then exhort. And if you have the gift of contributing, the gift of contributing, then do it liberally to contribute. That, according, it doesn't say to the wealthy, it says to everybody. If you have the gift of giving, then give. As a matter of fact, the problem with giving is that the more we have, the less we give. The more we have, the more we're going to see our bank accounts rise. And that's a problem with giving. There's a man in the church, he died now. He was, when we were building this church, by the way, his name is Nick Boris. He was a great philanthropist of the church. He built the chapel in St. Basil Academy, which is our neighbor across the river. He did so many things at the archdiocese, and it just so happens that when we were building, there was one of our ladies that were in Washington, and she happened to be sitting next to him in one of the great dinners. And they got to talking. He said, where's your church? What are you doing? She said, well, we're building the church. And he said, are you having a double-decker? Is it going to be higher than a double-decker? She said, I don't know. So what he said was, ask your priest to call me. Simple conversation. She comes in, says, this fellow wants you to call him. He lives in New Jersey. And I called him. He said, are you building a double-decker? I said, yes. He says, come down and see me. I went there with the others, and we went down there to meet him. And he said, bring your plans with you. And we had the plans for the second story. And he says, I'm going to donate the steel. We're talking 100,000 and more, if not more. And he said, just by a conversation with somebody, we happened to be building at that time. And he says that you pay for the transportation and everything else, and I'll donate the steel, of which he paid for everything anyway. That's contributing. That's somebody that's and not only that, he was a millionaire and he died a millionaire. He died a millionaire. How many millionaires died with 80,000 in the bank? 10,000, not 80,000, I meant 80 million in the bank. How many have 10 million in the bank and died? 5 million, 4 million. And they died without giving. This man gave to all that he could, whoever he saw in the Orthodox, and probably others as well. And he died still a millionaire. I'm sure that when God sees him in the kingdom of heaven, welcome my dear fellow Christian coming to my kingdom. Contributed liberally. And then again, just like as the Bible says, people were giving money that's what they did in the old days. They would do it publicly, and many of the rich would come in and put money on the table for the temple, give it the temple. And the widow comes up, she had 2 cents. It says, and she put it on the table, 2 cents. She put it on the table, and Jesus was there, observing, and says, you know what? This woman, this widow, gave more than all of them. She gave more to the temple than all of them. Why? And he said, because she gave all that she had. Her bread money for the week, or whatever it was. She gave all that she had, and she gave more than those who were clamping and putting down their money on the table, so everybody can see how generous they were. That's contributing. That's contributing. Doors. Talents. I'll tell you another story with the doors. I told you many times. A prisoner. Again, when we were building, we were talking about building the church and all this and kind of thing. And he says, and then I mentioned one day that we're building the doors. He says, you know what, I'll build the doors. I said, they're 9-foot high doors. He said, I'll do it. He said, if you get the material, the wood, I'll do it. So I went to the supervisor, the warden, we called supervisor, and I asked what you allowed to do, because they had workshops in those days. I don't think they have them anymore, at least at this particular facility. And he built those doors for us, for nothing, hand-carved, the front doors, and then we were ready for the second doors. He built those also, hand-carved, what you see over there. What a gift. What a gift God gave us. And you know what he said? If I was not in here, if I was not caught, I would have been doomed. He said, I thank God. I thank God that I was doomed because I began to see in myself. I began to see who I am. And all these talents that God had given him emerged from being in prison. He did so many things in the prison, in the workshop, that, again, these were gifts. He said, I never knew that I had. I never knew that I had. Thank God I was caught and put in prison. He's not the only one that said that. I've heard that from others in the prison ministry. So we have all these gifts that we have, all of us. How about when, I remember one day we had, I think it was the Philanthropist had a painting thing, people would come in, people had never painted before. They give a little canvas and a little paint here and there, they had a little instructions, and people would come back and say, look how this is. I never knew I could do that. I never knew I could do that. You know, you'd be able to paint. You know, whatever it is. So God says we all have the gifts. The gifts of and it says here, let me just read the rest because it's so beautiful how it describes us. And he who gives aid, give aid with zeal. He who does acts of mercy with cheerfulness, do it cheerfully. Not looking for anything back, but do it because you want to do it. You want to give mercy. Let love be genuine. Hate what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. The prejudices that we have, get rid of them, for goodness sakes. It's so rampant in the world now. We hear it from over and over again. These people are this, and these people are that, and this one is black, and that one is Jewish, and this one is that, and Chinese, and so on, and so on. And in other words, look how great I am. The people that have prejudices. Look how great I am. That's the worst thing you can do is exalt yourself. That's the worst thing you can do. Rather use your talents, what God has given you to do for the best, for the better. That's what this gospel says here. He says love. He said, love one another, brotherly affection, outdo one another, in showing honor. Never flag in zeal. Be aglow. Shine with the Spirit. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in your hope. Be patient in tribulation. When things are troubling us, be patient. Be constant in prayer. Contribute the needs of the saints. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. And bless and do not curse them. How beautiful. And this was read today. Did anybody listen? Was it really close to understand really what the Gospels and the epistles tell us? Who we are in God's creation, His greater of all creations, humankind. We are so great in His creation that He became one of us. How amazing. And each of us have a little piece, a little part of God in us. And we are to use it. Not only one piece, but many gifts that we have. Open your eyes, open your mind, open your heart, open your faith, and see how good God really is. And may He bless you all.